awesome morning, wonderful afternoon, and super great evening. This is Carla from, what am I from? Planet Union right now. And I am here to speak to everyone who wants to come and speak in English about their culture and their way of life. And to show how international this show is, I have Huang from Vietnam and Shavali from India, and I will take anyone who wants to come to the show. If you look in the caption, I will capture it and put it in the chat so you guys know how to get here. But basically, it is just taking the link, registering for the show, and coming and talking. And I know these two ladies can talk because they have spoken with me before. Shavali, I need you to show me your whole face and not just parts of it. We want to see you, not just one eye or your cheek. We want to see your face.
Now can you see me?
Yes, but keep that in mind.
Yes, yes.
Okay, having said that, what I would like to happen right now is for Huang to introduce herself.
Yes.
Oh,
good evening. Yes,
go
good
on,
evening.
I'll fix my issue. I have to fix something. Go on.
Yes. So, wonderful morning, magnificent evening, and wonderful and amazing afternoon for everyone. I want to say that to everyone, and especially Carla and Shivali here in the show with me. I'm so happy to be here to talk with you. Yeah. This is Huang from Vietnam. I'm a lecturer in a government university. I have been here for more than 17 years with more than 10,000 students. They are from different countries and different provinces in Vietnam. I got my PhD in 2015, 7 years ago. And after that, I got a Fulbright scholarship from the Indian government to study about international business in 2018. Yeah. And right now, I'm teaching and also doing my own business. Apart from that, I really love talking and communicating with international friends. That's why I have been hosting several meetings, Zoom meetings, and especially I keep joining Carla shows, and every single session, I love to be with her and her friends to connect with other people from different parts of this world and different cultures to broaden my mind. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's wonderful.
She is amazing. And when I met her 2 years ago, I could barely get her to say hello. And look at her now.
Thank you.
That's a sign of good work in my mind. Okay, Shavali, please introduce yourself.
Okay, good evening from India to all the viewers and to the beautiful women with me right now. I'm Shivali. I'm from North India, from Delhi region, and I have been into communication training for many years now. And I am also a healer. I ventured into healings and numerology and crystal healing and whatnot, just to learn as well as to help others. So I'm both a coach, trainer, as well as a healer. And I love to be on these platforms where I meet like-minded people that I can talk to freely and learn a lot also. So thank you so much, Carla, for this opportunity.
And thank you for coming. Now, ladies, you have never met before, so why don't you talk to each other and get to know each other, and make sure that you have shared this out to your friends and family and friends to be, so everyone can come and join us as we speak today.
Yes.
Okay, Huang, you are not using your Facebook name. Could you please use that? Use that.
Yes. Let me change it. My name very long.
You shouldn't have to put everything in there. You can only put maybe if you begin typing it in, it should come up. I just found it to tag you,
Yes.
and you are tagged.
Thank you. I will share it. So,
Okay,
Shivali.
please. Shivali, did you share the show out?
No, I
Oh, where
let,
you go.
let me just check. Actually, I'm also new to all these things. I'm a kid. I actually get very jittery in technology. And though I want everyone to see it, let me just see if I can do it.
You can do it. I know you can do it. I've seen you do things that you never knew you could do before.
True, absolutely true. Let me
I've done it. Share.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It shows how connected I am today. I forgot to tell you ladies to do that. So, having done that, tell me what's on your mind today.
I want to know something of Vietnam because whatever little I know of that place, I think Ms. Huan, you're from Vietnam, right? Vietnam?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm from
Okay, just
Vietnam.
tell me something about that place because generally we, like a person like me, has seen some movies or some YouTube videos, etc. So here I have someone who's like who can tell me directly about it because that is another a place which is very rich in its culture. So I would really love to know more about it.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me that question. And I'm so proud when sharing about such information to other people, especially international friends, to get to know more about Vietnam here. Vietnam's is located in the Southeast Asia, and here we have the same border with China, Laos, Cambodia, and the Gulf of Thailand. Especially, we have a long coastal line with more than 3,000 kilometers coastal lines, I mean. And also, we have a lot of beautiful beaches and also historical sites. You can visit a lot of wonderful and beautiful wonder heritage sites as well. And every year we have a lot of, festivals. And I have talked about Hong King Festival. Last month, we have organized and celebrated that event as well. Yeah. Apart from that, here we have a lot of Indians. I mean, even my Indian friends, they are living, they are working here in the capital of Vietnam. Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. But the place I stay and work right now is about 80 kilometers, around 80 to 100, but about 2 hours traveling by bus to visit. But it's kind of like mountainous and rural, yes, area, so location. But here we have a lot of, fresh air and peaceful location. You can enjoy your life. And whenever my friends come to visit me, they really enjoy the atmosphere and environment here, because we have a lot of trees and a lot of beautiful flowers you can see, and rivers around. It's very cool weather. Yes.
Natural beauty. Your country is endowed with natural beauty. And what about the ancient sites? Are there some, like ancient sites, heritage spots? Like in India, India, Pakistan is full of heritage places, places associated with culture, ancient wisdom, etc. What about Vietnam?
Of course, in Vietnam, we also have that. Even we have some architects, we have some buildings that connect connection between India and Vietnam. Because here in Vietnam, a lot of people want to travel to India to visit, the Buddhism. There are a lot of, the root and the origin of Buddhism. So people really want to visit India. And here we have a lot of buildings and heritage site, historical site, to connect between Vietnamese culture and Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, here we also have, more than 2,000 years. We are building and setting up our countries. That's why we have a lot of historical stories about, defending and gaining independence for our countries. Yep. So
Yes,
we have a lot of stories.
Yes, that national struggle that you had to undergo, that strive, that struggle. Yes, because that was highlighted always. But we've always seen the other point of view. Never seen that what Vietnam, what the people of that place feel. I'm sure you have your own folklore and all that. And what about the women? Like, what is their kind of position that they enjoy, their rights? I mean, what kind of freedom or liberties they have? Are they really free in their choices?
Yes, here we have freedom, especially for, religion. We are non-religious, but we respect all kind of religions. So you can follow whatever you want, any kind of religion you want. And especially in all organizations, they are making efforts to balance between two genders, females and males. They will give more opportunities for females because they have a special function to, generate for next generation, take care of their families and a lot of things. So that's why they will give more priority for women to get promotion.
Yes, in India also a lot of things have changed. Of course, a lot of freedom and liberty was always a part of our culture. But at the same time, there have been challenges in the field of educating the women and it's okay in the cities, but over here, when it's concern of the women, if you go to the countryside, they're still very traditional in the setup. No, a person like me, I dress up according to the situation. Like even if I have to go to the countryside and visit people, then obviously my dress up also changes. And there were times when people used to look at me and say, "Oh, she doesn't know how to cook. She does. How can she? She's always in Western clothes." Those perceptions. People. I used to face this a lot. I face this in my own family. And then no, people who actually know me, they said, "No, it's not like that." So things have changed a lot in India. I'm very happy to say this, that
Yeah.
people are becoming more accepting. But still, I think the mindset at times is still very traditional. And I think that's a part of the beauty of our countries. Like, yes, it's a mix of the traditional and the modern. And I think that balance is needed. And that is actually needed.
Yes. But I was in India in 2018. I was so surprised. That's something was different from my country. Like even some women, they are, I mean, very well educated. I can say they have a lot of high-end profession, qualify their qualification, but they accept to stay at home to be housewives, housewives, and
Yes,
they give
yes, 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 yes. I understand what you're saying. Even I don't mind that. I'll tell you the reason. Staying at home doesn't mean that I can't do work, that I don't know. At least from my point of view, someone were to ask me, like if you were to ask that, Shivali, what is this? Yes, we have, it's a choice. If they are happy staying at home, it's okay. But now I think the men are also encouraging in educated families that if you want to do something, I know so many of my friends, they are doing stuff of their own. So they are telling me, why don't you also do? Why you have to go and work for an organization? So I understand what you are saying. They're happy doing it. They're happy.
oh
All I can say, they're happy doing it. Sometimes the families do not permit, in the traditional setup that, but I think things are changing clearly. It's a heady mix. Actually, the beauty of India is that the culture remains essentially the same, but, in terms of the values, sometimes you will find absolute traditional, rigid, orthodox setup where the women are still the homemakers and looking after the children. I'll give you an example of my own mother. My mother was a principal of a school before her marriage. And when she got married to my father said that you want to work, you can work. She says, no, I don't want to work. So he says, why you don't want to work? Because we had a joint family and then taking care of the children. She said, I'll educate my own children. If I go to work the whole day, I will be out. Who will take responsibility for the home? Now, of course, things are changing. Now you find the men also changing nappies and doing housework. Otherwise, traditional Indian men, I have never seen my dad. He could make only a cup of tea. He's no longer with us. So he could make only a cup of tea. And cooking was something which was not expected from men. But nowadays, you don't see that. You see men as excellent chefs, helping out their wives or their girlfriends or whatever. So things are in a state of flux. So in India, you will not find everyone necessarily, if educated, working. Yes, true. It's a choice they are making. And if they feel that, okay, the husbands are there to take care of them, so they don't have to. But like my mother made a choice. She made a choice because we had a joint family and she felt that there was no one to take the responsibility of the home. And I think women play a very important role in the homemaking also. If they can balance their home and careers, then it's fine. Otherwise, it's a challenge, yes, isn't it?
yes, obviously,
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
Yes, I agree with that. But time flies, you know, when our women, they stay at home, that means they win, I mean, miss a lot of opportunity outside with the society, keep up with a lot of chances. I think that they
Yes,
should
yeah.
follow our
Yes.
society development.
Yes, because this expansion of the what you can say horizons of the mind, getting to know new things. Now they are lucky; they are fortunate enough to have social media,
Mm.
smartphones. I'm just looking at say 20, 30 years ago when there was no social media, there was just the newspapers, and I would see my mother. Of course, she was an educated person, so she would do a lot of these. Rubik's cube had come, then solving crossword puzzles. She has been an avid reader. She used to read a lot, so that's how she did it. But yes, all women may not get that chance. Also, that's true. But she read a lot, and she's still, of course, she's of age now. But whatever I am today is because of my parents, especially my mother. My This love for music, books, and philosophy is all coming from my mother. And yet she never worked after marriage.
Hmm.
So it's like that.
It's
But yes,
interesting.
everyone is not that fortunate. I understand. Like even if my mother were to come on this show, of course she's aged now. She's around 87, 88. She can
Oh.
still speak with you on all topics, and she will speak to you in English. She's the one who taught me English and Hindi. So I
Mm.
owe a lot to my mother. But yes, she did not work. She had a choice. My father said, "You want to work?" He gave her freedom because my dad was a very liberal minded person and we had a very nice social life also. But yes, this is not there in all families,
Mm.
as you have rightly pointed out. But yes, we are hoping things will change. And I strongly believe that women don't need empowerment. We are already empowered. God has been very merciful. I look at myself. I feel I'm so empowered. Look at you. Look at Carla. We are born empowered, and we don't need externals. It's up to us also. I tell
Mm.
so many girls and women that, as you rightly said, that you have to come forward yourself. You too will have to make what should I say? You have to take that step. It's an individual decision also. You can't always say, let others do something for me. I can also do. And I think women can do a lot for the upliftment of other women. And why?
Shabelle,
Yes.
we've been, Yocheved from Israel just joined us. She's
Hi.
originally from New York, but she's been living in Israel for how long, Yocheved?
Please put on the mic.
You need to
I'm
turn.
trying. I'm trying.
You got it.
Okay. Close to 30 years.
So, and that's a whole different environment too. So let's bring her into the conversation.
Yes.
Yocheved, introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Yocheved. As you just heard, I was born in New York, but I've lived in Israel for a long time. I work in Hebrew to English translation. I live in a place called Ramat Beit Shemesh, which is between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, although not on a straight line, Jerusalem. And what else? I like to read, like music. I do some matchmaking. And yeah, I guess that's in a nutshell.
And we've been talking about women empowerment. Yocheved, do you want to give your 2 cents or 10 cents or $1
That's a very broad topic. Is there a little more specific or focused question or?
Well, we have been talking about the differences in India and Vietnam and also Pakistan when it comes to women empowerment. And I think things are a little different in Israel than they would be in the United States. Maybe not as much, maybe so.
I guess some of it depends if we're talking in legal structures or in sociology or sub communities, in terms of the laws and things, trying to think if it's pretty even handed. There are a couple of things that are interesting that are different, but which I wouldn't say has to do with empowerment, but maybe a little bit with life expectancy and a little bit with mindsets. Like I think women are still can retire like at an earlier age than men with the benefits, which doesn't really make sense since women live longer. Like there's a couple of weird things here and there. Actually a couple of structural things in the tax laws that actually encourage women to go to work, meaning a couple who is going to be better off if both people work than if the husband works like a job and a half or whatever. And that goes back to the founding of the states, which was somewhat socialistic and very egalitarian in focus. Within different sub-communities and religious communities, things may be different, what the expectations are. But the truth is that also isn't Israel specific as much as it is community specific or religion specific. And so what the norms there are and what's acceptable and what the structures are is somewhat different. And actually in the Orthodox community, which I am a part of, there's been a lot of evolution in what women are encouraged to do, expected to do, allowed to do, but it is not an egalitarian system. There are still things that are, that men can control and that women can't, and there's huge amounts of discussion and writing and ink spilled about what can or can't be changed, what should or shouldn't be changed, what would be a positive, a negative. There's been a lot of progress in the last few decades, just even in terms of course of study. Orthodox Judaism puts a tremendous value on study of canonical texts, biblical texts, rabbinic texts. And for a long time, those were basically closed to women. And now they aren't. There are many, many programs where women can study, including ones that I participated in. So I personally benefited from these changes. And it's an ongoing discussion and evolution.
So you're from an Orthodox community, as you said. Is it norm, and you cover your head? What is the reasoning behind that? I hope you don't mind me asking specific questions.
So I'm pretty open with these things. There's like technical answers, and then there's sometimes what you see as behind those answers. A technical answer is that it is based on rabbinic exposition of biblical verse. That's on the books. It is obviously part of modesty issues and concerns. What makes it a little anomalous is that in the mainstream Orthodox community, married women cover their hair and single women don't. Now, the truth is that it could be originally it was intended for everybody to do it. And for whatever reason, the single women did not, because it's a little hard to explain. If hair is immodest, then anyone should cover their hair. And if it's not, then nobody should. People will also argue, and again, these are things that aren't in the sources. These are explanations that are given that may or may not be correct. But I think to some degree, it's almost like wearing a wedding ring. Now, of course, it has to be within a community where people know what it signifies. But I think it tells people that you're married. And I personally think, and everyone agrees, but that it is meant to make you a little less attractive to the outside world, because I think that hair does tend to be attractive. Now, you can tell me when this is too much detail for you, because we're talking about a very, very specific small part of the community, but these are things that are of interest to me. There are communities where the women wear wigs, and that technically you are covering your hair. To me, that seems funny, because if there's any reason, if you just say it's a technical requirement, we don't know why, that's what the book said. And so I'm fulfilling it technically. And one friend of mine told me that she thinks the whole thing's a little weird, and okay, she'll, do it technically. But if you think that there is more to it than covering your hair in a way that no one can tell it's covered and that you actually look better than you do normally, seems a little bit odd. So that's it. There's a whole you could write probably a little bit of a book too. We have a book about the Amish and how they dress,
Yeah.
and it has all these like there's 17 subgroups that, outsider doesn't know about. To some degree, hair covering is like that too. And there are people who identify as Orthodox who do not cover their hair as well, which maybe makes things even a little more confusing for, but yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Ladies, do you have any questions or want to add to the conversation?
I can understand what she's saying, this hair covering, etc. If you see, again, it varies from culture. Within India, if I look at India itself, if you are in North India, the northern parts like Punjab side or UP or Delhi side, you will see the women, if they are in their traditional clothes, the salwar kameezes, we also carry the dupatta around us, and we do cover our heads also, especially if we are at home and the elders are there. If the elders are there, then whether is a man in the house or a woman in the house would really not matter. The women do cover their head. It's like a mark of respect to these seniors in the house. That's it. And a sign of modesty, for some, it could be a sign of modesty. But when I had asked my mother that why do women need to cover their head, she said it's a mark of respect. Just as if we were to visit the temples, the Indian women will certainly cover their head. And at home, to show respect to the elders, the head is covered. That's the only reason I can think of. No other reason.
There are women who cover their hair only in synagogue.
Yes.
Even though it's interesting, there's not such a good textual basis. Again, Orthodox Judaism is very heavily text-based. There's not a lot of support for that in the texts, but it is a not uncommon practice. So it's interesting that kind of matches.
Yes, it's here in India also. If you were to see me going to a temple, you see me nicely covered, with my head also covered. And I love doing it. I mean, why I'm doing it, who started it, I don't know. But this is what we have traditionally seen. And we do it. That, okay, it's a mark of respect. I'm in the house of God. So I'm just covering my head. Even the men, actually, they are supposed to cover their head.
So
Sometimes
Orthodox
Yes.
men generally wear a
Yes.
yarmulke, skull cap,
Yeah.
whatever. They're not as encompassing, but they do wear something on the head, and that there is an idea there. And some people expand it to cover the women's coverings as well, that it's to remind you that there is a God above you, that there's
Yes.
and that you should be aware of that. And
Yes.
some people try to expand that to the women's head covering as well.
That's it. I remember once I had gone to the temple, and the Gurukul system, which are still existing in the Vedic temple. So I used to go for my Vedic studies to the temple. So I had to leave for my work also. So I would be in my trousers and my shirt. Now, one day I happened to land up at the temple in my trousers and shirt. So the head priest, the president of the temple, he called me separately, and he said that, I would appreciate, when you come to the temple, you should be more, traditionally dressed. So I asked the president of the temple that, we call them Prabhujis. So I said, Prabhuji, but there are a lot of foreigners also who are coming to our temple. You're not telling them anything. He said, it's okay. It's a part of their culture. They can come. We readily accept that. But you being a person who knows about the Vedic system, and when you come here in the early hours of morning, the class is on out here. And the brahmacharis, as we call them, brahmacharis are those who are into the Gurukul system, actually. So they are the youth, the young boys. So I was told this, and I accepted it. So the next time, what I would do, I would carry a nice scarf with me, and I would be wearing my trousers and shirt, but I would cover my head nicely with the scarf. So I think it's a mark of respect and modesty also. I think for women it becomes more like if you cover, then you are being modest. Like we have all kinds of symbols in India. a married woman, a traditionally married woman would be wearing all kinds of symbols on her body to show that she is married. Whereas I would tell my mother, you can't make out whether the guy is married or not. So the women is open, showing that she is no longer available. So I'm understanding what you're saying. It's the same here. It's the same here.
A lot of more traditional men don't wear wedding rings. And I said, I
Yes.
don't get that. I think everybody has the right to know someone's marital status upon meeting. You shouldn't, like, that should just be something that's clear. So if there's no other way, you know, so.
I agree with this. They don't even want to wear the wedding rings. And here the Indian women are wearing all kinds of, accessories, which is openly declaring. Of course, in industries, when these women are working, even a person like me, I wouldn't be asked to wear these accessories. You don't have to declare yourself. But in general, society does this. I think it's more the patriarchal influence,
Could be.
What about you, Halong?
Yes, in Vietnam, I have seen some places and some groups, they also cover their hair. Yeah, I agree with that, especially when they work on the farms and also at home. That's convenient for them to, focus on their work and even cooking or something like that. My sister-in-law as well, she usually covers her hair. And also, I don't know, but in Vietnam, between women and men, when they go to the hair shop or barber shops, for women will be more expensive than men. I don't know why.
And it's extremely expensive here. I mean, I don't understand why, but what we pay here to keep our hair normal, looking decent, is way, it doesn't even make sense, but we pay a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
This is going back a bit, but I should maybe clarify that in the house, I don't normally cover my hair. If it's just me and my husband here, then I don't, I don't cover, which some people do, a lot of people don't. So it's interesting that you're saying that people cover at home. Maybe that's somewhat for convenience and stuff. Like, I don't know, hair net or whatever, when you're working with food, like more of a cleanliness thing or whatever. But like I said, actually at home, I, would not cover if there aren't guests.
So you're covering now because you're online.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, is it important to you to cover your hair?
I follow the rules on it, basically. I have a little bit mixed feelings, but I go along with it. Look, the whole question, we said, well, it's more modest, it's more respectful. There's a lot of lack of exact precision or clarity with what that is or isn't. And I think most people, do have a concept of, modest or immodest, but where people draw their lines is very different. I once did in a class connected to this, bring a cartoon. It was a very funny cartoon, actually, a Kathy cartoon. I don't know if people are familiar with her, but they sort of show her in different styles of clothing. And it says, this says I'm an executive, this says I'm an artist. And one says, and then you see her dressed in something that's very sexy. And this says, don't listen to a word that comes out of my mouth. So the struggle also between what we would like things to be, where maybe it wouldn't matter at all what somebody wears because we're all, beyond that. And the reality that there is sexual attraction out there and the physical, etc., is a struggle. And how you exactly, who has the responsibility for how much, etc., is a little bit again, I don't know, a discussion and not black and white absolute answers to these questions. I think modern studies particularly are all struggling with them. Saying what are the norms or aren't the norms? So, you know, I don't have an answer for it.
I guess according to the situation, one needs to adapt. If it's needed, there is no harm in doing it. To keep the peace.
Yeah.
To keep the peace, and it's okay. For me, like if you ask me, I'm comfortable with both. If I'm asked to cover my head, I'm quite happy about it. But then the kind of work I do, in that job, I'm expected to be in my Western formals. So with my Western formals, maximum I'll have a scarf around my neck if I have to wear one. I don't need to. So my work profile doesn't need me to have a scarf around my head. But if I'm in a temple, I'm with my family, and there is a family occasion, you'll find me in my traditional attire, nicely covered, and I love that also. So
Where are you working? I might have missed that because I came in late, but
I'm working as I am a coach and a trainer. So I'm dealing with professionals who join various industries. So in these industries, most of the time, it's either Western formals, the boys and girls or the men and women will wear, or Indian formals. In Indian formals, these traditional clothes we are not allowed to wear. So I think a lot of changes have come about with passage of time, according to the needs. This is what I feel. It's only when a person doesn't have a personal choice. Like I have a choice, right? But everyone doesn't have that choice. So it's okay. And it's not such a big thing.
Wow.
Isn't
So
it?
when,
Go
yes,
on. No, go on.
so when listening to all of you, I can say that you are more flexible and adaptable than me. Because I'm not comfortable with just like covering my hair all the time. But maybe when like falling in love with someone and in that situation, I will follow that rules, right?
So you will do it, right? I would do it. Yes. Oh yeah.
some of it, I think, some of it is also what you're used to, I think. I think to Americans, by and large, the idea of a woman covering her hair for something is fairly foreign. Certainly outside some of the church in places of worship a little more, even though that's sort of already out of style in America largely. But the idea of covering your hair on the street is very, very foreign. But to some degree, I grew up in a subculture, if you will. So when you say, well, you can choose to or not to. So I can choose to belong to the subculture I'm part of or not to. In other words, I wasn't forced to it by my country or by the, law of the land, but by, choosing to follow this religious path. That might have been part of the package, not a reason for it. But I also grew up, my mother covered her hair. So it wasn't foreign to me in that sense. And some of my friends' mothers did. So I think the, attitudes are different too. When that is your part of your tradition and what you're used to, some people may still choose to reject it. But to Americans, I think, Carla, you can correct me if you disagree, but it's really foreign and bizarre and oppressive.
I agree. I have some issues about it myself. In fact, on February, the first February, I think it's the first Friday, I forget now, or even maybe the first day of February, there is a thing where it's National Hijab Day. And all the Muslim women, to kind of empower Muslim women,
Mhm.
And one year I actually did wear hijab one day, but it felt so foreign for me to do it. And then I've forgotten in other days because the ladies who reminded me were in a group and the group kind of dissipated. But, you know, I learned how to wear hijab just for that one day, and it felt strange going out with my head covered. It's not something I've done in the past, but it is something I had to do. Huang, do you ever cover your head?
Yes, I have. When visiting, Sikh temple in India, yes, I cover for the whole day when visiting inside. And I had tasted food there as well. Yeah, they offer food for 24/7 with 3 meals a day. Wow, for free. Wow.
Langar. We call it langar. It
Oh,
is
langar.
called langar.
Oh.
Do they do it every day or do
Yes, every
Every-
day. Yes.
Everything.
And what was
Even-
what was your reason for going, Huang? Just to experience it, or
I was curious to know more about cultures and also that's very beautiful place. A lot of, golden temples. Yes. So I would love to visit, yeah, to know more about them and a lot of beautiful activities inside. Yep.
now?
Yes, we have to. Yes.
Now, Shivali, I have never seen you cover your head.
Okay.
Do you do it? I think you
Yes.
said something about doing it, and I was a little distracted at the moment.
Yes.
Do you cover your head, and for what reason?
When I go to the temple, if I'm visiting the temple, then definitely I cover myself. That time I wear my traditional clothes. That time I wear the way they dress up in Pakistan. I'm in my salwar kameez and my dupatta and everything, and my head covered nicely.
I don't really get it. The reason, I have hair. Hair is attractive, but does hair really bring people to anyone, or is it the whole more the smile and your face?
Well, the Indian hairdo has changed over the years, but traditionally in ancient times, there was a proper ritual for dressing up the hair itself, perfuming it, and decorating the hair. So that was a kind of a real, what should I say, an event for the women, and not just the royalty, even the ordinary woman. She would love to dress up her hair. And keeping hair open was never the practice, as was pointed out a little earlier by our friend that like when you're cooking and all, then your hair should not be falling into your face. So that could be a reasons for hygiene. But apart from that, keeping hair open was not really in fashion. At least I don't know about it. Nowadays, of course, like a person like me, I keep my hair open. But if you have long hair, you are expected to kind of tie it up or something. Traditionally, I've seen it. So, what is the reason behind it? One cannot really figure out. But like if I were to go to a temple, I would definitely not. I will never keep my hair open if I go to the temple. It's not done. That's it. Now, why it's not done? Maybe it's in the scriptures. So I need to study more of that. But you're supposed to tie up your hair and go into the temple. If you're keeping your hair open, nobody questions you. Nobody's going to question you. But I know, as I know about it, that even in the Vedic system, when you're visiting temples, you're supposed to nicely braid your hair or make a bun and then cover your hair and go. And I do it, Carla. I do it. When I go to the temple, I do it.
It's very interesting because there is a biblical precedent. There's discussion in some of the sources about, do you need to cover your hair, or is it enough to just bind the hair, that it shouldn't be loose? And it is actually connected to a section in the Bible about an adulterous woman and a possibility. So it's kind of interesting that you have that connection. But also, if you think, did you ever watch the TV show Little House on the Prairie?
No, I haven't.
American women used to keep, and the expression to let your hair down, what does that mean? When you are home alone in an intimate situation, you let your hair down because you didn't leave it down in front of everybody. It was pinned up and off. They had those bonnets. So Americans used to do this too. Not for a while now, but yeah, like I said, you just watch the show, The Little House on the Prairie, and the women have their hair in braids and or with the bonnet when they're out. So, so that's it. When you say temples, is Hindu temple?
Yes, the Vedic system. I don't call them Hindu, I call it the Vedic. Of course, Hindu is a new term that you hear. The Vedic temples, yes. In all the Vedic
How do you
Hindu
spell
temples,
that? I'm not familiar with the word.
VEDIC.
Okay, thank you.
Temple.
Okay.
Hindu was a term which was coined during a particular time because it came from the word Indus or Indu River, the Indus River. So that's how people living on this side of the river were known as the Hindus. But actually, it is the Vedic system, the Vedic temple. So in the Vedic temples, yes, what you said right now, that you flaunt your hair probably in front of your partner, you know, your husband. That's the time you are supposed to open your hair and flaunt it, you know. That again, we have scriptures on this, how the married women were expected to dress up for their spouses. And yes, over there, the hair open and flaunting and all. Yes, I agree with this. Exactly what I can understand. It's the same reason over here, that modesty is all about, you know, now I keep my hair open, I do it. But if I'm in a temple, I would, of course, cover my head and tie it also. Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And it's not something that you see normally, but it is something that happens, and it's a part of life, believe it or not. If people were only more understanding, I think there would be more understanding of this. It would allow for the problems, some of the problems, when people get scared of this.
I don't think there's anything to get scared of. It's just that when you're not used to something is new, it takes time, right?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, that people get scared because they're not used to seeing it. And because they're not used to seeing it, a lot of stupidity happens because they don't know how to react.
But I think there's also fear because there are some societies and countries where it is required and imposed upon women. In other words, there are countries where if a woman goes out without her hair covered, she is risking, you know, being attacked, and or she can be, you know, put in jail or whatever, like where the legal system forces women to do that. And I think that's part of why people are so concerned about it also, is if it's going to be imposed on you. That's what I'm saying, like in Israel, there's no, like, you don't get in trouble. You might get in trouble within your community, you know, people may stop talking to you or kick you out or whatever, but nobody is coming over on the street and arresting you because your hair is uncovered. But I think there are places, you know, where that can happen. And that's, I think, part of the fear, is that will not be the choice of a woman, but forced upon people.
And that's kind of scary that even holding someone's hand in some countries is considered wrong. Don't hold anyone's hand or don't do this. And it's such a simple thing. I personally do not understand this whole thing of head covering. When I understand intellectually, but it doesn't make sense to me. Before the show, I was talking to Shivali about a shirt I had on that had I'm wearing it now. It has a V-neck and it has short sleeves. And she mentioned to me, that's not appropriate for Pakistan. And I was like, oy vey, what am I going to do? Because this is how I normally dress. And yet it isn't something that would be allowed under normal circumstances. We just had a gentleman join us, and he's in his car, and if he's planning on driving, we're going to have to remove him. But can you please introduce yourself? We can't hear you. Open up your mic, please.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, I am Manume Excel from Nigeria. I am a marketer. I'm a content marketer. I am a photographer. I'm a journalist. Thank you very much.
And you said you're a photographer. What kind of photography do you do?
Okay, I basically do outdoor photography. Yeah, and I also capture living stuff like moving objects, kind of. Yeah, that's what basically I do.
Now, let me ask you a question, since you are coming from the male background and we've been talking about covering our heads. Do the women in Nigeria cover their heads?
Basically, most women in Nigeria do cover their heads during services. That's on Sundays when they go to church. But besides that, you're free to leave your hair open. In most churches, I swear, you're free to leave your hair open, even even in the service. So that's it. Some cover their heads, some don't. So it's a 50-50 stuff.
So not everyone covers their head every day.
Yeah,
They
not
go
everybody.
shopping. Ladies, what do you think?
Well,
We are
best-
going to close this in about 3 minutes, but ladies, what do you think about Nigeria? They don't cover their head except if they go to church.
It's interesting that there seems to be a consistency with at services, you cover your head. Now the question is where, what lies behind that, but we've seen that kind of cross culture, cross religion here. So it's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. Shivali, do you want to say something?
Again, I think it's a mark of respect. Mark of respect. I don't know about modesty, but definitely respecting the house of God. Respecting the house of God. When you are in the mood, that's the way we see it in the the Indian subcontinent also. That we are expected to cover our head when we go to temples, places of worship, and not just in temples, also at the time of when there is a demise in someone's family, the funerals, etc. When people are together, again, the covering of head is done. The head is covered that time. So it's not just in the joyful time, even in moments of sadness, and when we are kind of gathering together for a prayer meet, over there also, in funerals also, the head covering is there. And this is not just for the women, it's for the men also. So, here I think it's common, is what I can say. And it's a family, it's a personal choice, I guess, depends on the family. If the family is okay with it, it's okay. But in some traditional families in India also, the head is covered by the women at home. I've seen my mother doing it. I've seen my mother, because we had visitors from Canada and US, because my dad's family, the extended family is in US, Canada. So whenever the elders would come down to our home, my mother would be a different mother. Her head would be covered till here, traditionally, absolutely covered, like, So I said, why do you do this? He's saying it's a mark of respect to all the elders who have arrived. And whether those elders were men or women didn't matter. She would cover her head. So again, mark of respect. In the house of God, mark of respect. In families, mark of respect. This is what I am.
One quick question before I close the show, and this is to Yocheved, and I've heard this before, but you used the term modesty. What does it mean to just, is modesty coming into play with covering your head?
See, in the Indian context, this is what I said. In Indian context, like a woman is supposed to be modest, and as pointed out.
I'm asking Yocheved because it comes from a different background. I'm still wondering why modesty comes into play.
So it's a broader question with clothing in general, and an idea that modesty, people often try to focus also that modesty is not just a matter of clothing. It's how you comport yourself, how you behave, how you speak. But one aspect of it is your dress, how you dress. And we had discussed a little, I said that I think most people have some concept of modesty, whether they can give any real intellectual basis for it or not. I think most people would not be comfortable if everybody walked around naked in the streets. Right. And most people, and for sure in the West, are not comfortable with women being covered with just the eye holes and, covered head to toe. But the in-between areas, there's a lot of room for question and disagreement. So I think that hair is one more aspect of, do you feel that it's more sexual or distracting or, should be kept covered or not? Just like, you could, is a sleeveless thing inherently immodest? I always felt that even if I weren't religious, that I would feel that something that showed your belly button is not modest. Like, I don't think
I agree.
But based on what? Like, defend that. It's very difficult to defend any specific criteria and possibly even the whole concept. And then you get into the whole thing. Is there an innate morality? Is it even a moral issue? Is it just societal norms? Whatever. But so I'm saying where you draw the lines is not clear, or at least I haven't found a clear way to define. I mean, when we discussed this or whatever, like, I think a lot of people would feel even in your own home, it's not even if you're home alone, it's not a great idea to walk around totally naked. On the other hand, I think most people would walk around at home less modestly than they might somewhere else. So there is some contextual thing too, how public some things are private. Why are some things private? You're not going to really finish some of these things clearly. But so, like I said, where you draw the line, I can tell you that many Orthodox Jewish women who, from a Western view, dress ridiculously modestly, find it hard to understand how some of the Muslim women dress. It seems way too extreme to them. And I always laugh because you seem too extreme to a whole chunk of the world too. So it's a little hard to, like I said, to actually, draw the lines.
Important concept. Huang, do you want to say something?
Yes. In Vietnam, I have seen some women, when they fall in love and they get married with, Muslim guys, and they follow that rules. Yep. And yes, so that's why in Vietnam, we have freedom you have your own choice to follow whatever you want, what kind of religions you want. So yes, I can say that yes, you have freedom to move. Yeah, that's a different people with different perspectives. Yeah, some people they can adapt that very easily, but some people they need time. I mean, take time to get used to that's new things for them. Yes.
Shivali, very quickly, do you want to say something? And then I'm going to move over to the gentleman for a moment.
When in Rome, do as the Romans. That's it.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What do you want me to call you, Manu Excel? What do you go by normally?
Sorry?
What do you want me to call you? Do you want me
Oh, you
to
can-
call you Manum or Excel, or am I saying your name completely incorrectly?
Oh, you can call me Excel.
Okay, Excel, what do you think about this? Hello? We
Like he froze.
cannot hear you.
He may not have enough bandwidth. It looks like he
Yeah.
froze.
But then he all of a sudden moves. Okay, guys, we're going to close this out now. I want to thank everyone who came and those who may have watched or will watch on replay. And let's wave goodbye. Can we
Bye.
wave goodbye? Bye, everyone.
Thank you.